Legacy of ancient Mediterranean cultures could be talked about for many, many hours, so I'm mainly going to be focusing on the mythologies and where we see those in our modern day. Of our words that we use in our common day lives, such as the word narcissist, which is like a person who has an excessive interest in themselves, which comes from the story of Narcissus, who fell in love with his own reflection in water. Tantalize, which is to torment or tease something just out of reach. The son of Zeus, who was cursed to wade in water with fruit trees just out of his reach. We have the word ivory, which is thought to come from the Egyptian word elephant, because we use ivory tusks. Ebony, coming from the ancient Egyptian word for that same dark black wood that they would use for winter gardens. Memphis, from an ancient Egyptian city. Sapphic for literature or as a media whole of being women loving women, from the Greek poet Sappho's, who wrote about her for women. Brands, which are very commonly named after mythological figures. So we have Midas, the car repair company. King Midas was a very greedy man, and he was granted a wish by Dionysus, who offered him anything he wanted, and he chose to have anything he touched turn to gold. We actually have 3 different film companies, who is the god of war, rage, and battle, and is one of our constellations. The next company is Prometheus, which is who gave fire to humans, and the gods did not enjoy that. Their logo animation is Odysseus shooting through the axes of his suitors to regain Penelope from the Odyssey. But this one, only the logo is Hermes' shoes because they're going fast, like tires are supposed to. Once again, it's another car company, literally called Mercury, which is kind of cool, and it shows his winged shoes logo in their little circle. And then the next one is literally the logo for medicine practice. It is Hermes' staff with the 2 snakes that talk to each other, which is a software company called Oracle, like the Oracle of Delphi, who gave demigods and the gods prophecies to follow. The next is a book publishing company called Hyperion, which is the Greek titan for heavenly light, observation, and wisdom. Next is the makeup company NYX, which is the titan of personification of night and a very feminine, powerful force, which is pretty cool for a makeup company. And then obviously we have Thor Hammers, because Thor hammers. Pandora, which is based off of Pandora's box, where she was told to never open a box that held all of the disease and famine and blight on humanity, and of course, she did, which is very odd for a jewelry company to want as their logo. The strong Greek warrior, rivaled only by Achilles, which is really cute because their logo is tougher than grime. Then we have Starbucks, which is very popular and is a siren, luring people on the daily to get their caffeine and coffee with her siren song. I also work there. Then we have Venus, the Roman goddess of beauty, aka Aphrodite, with women's shaving products, a lot of beauty products. And then, I didn't know this one, Versace's logo is Medusa, which is interesting for a luxury brand given her very messed up story. And then Trojan condoms, being the Trojan horse, is very ironic because they're invading cars, which is the first book in the Bible, originating how the world was born and everything, which is really cool because it's got these cute angel wings around it. Shoes, which is the goddess of victory, which of course you would want on your sports shoes. And then of course we also learned about this in the course, but everything that has to do with the Olympics is Greek and Roman in culture, coming all the way down to its name. Terms in science that are mythology based, such as your Achilles tendon, which is where Achilles' mortal spot was, where he inevitably got wounded by an arrow to the leg and ended up dying. And now is our NASA section, because whoo boy is there a lot. We have our first trip to the moon being called the Apollo, which is the Greek god of light. Our most recent trip to the moon was named Artemis, which is his sister. All of our planets are also named after the gods, for example, Mercury being Hermes, Venus being Aphrodite, the goddess of beauty, Mars being the god of war, Ares, Jupiter being the Roman equivalent of Zeus, Saturn being Kronos, aka the one who ate all of his kids, the Titan, Uranus, the god of the sky, and Neptune being Poseidon's counterpart. Finally, I know Pluto isn't a planet anymore, however, he is the Hades equivalent for a little more in depth into each of these planets' moons. First off, we're going to go through Jupiter. Jupiter's first moon listed on most websites is Ganymede, which is very cool because that's Zeus's royal cupbearer, and then the others are all different Greek or Roman gods and goddesses of minor things, and Jupiter actually has so many, they actually have a lot that don't have names. Neptune, which is really cool because a lot of Neptune's moons are based off of water, such as Triton being Poseidon's son, and the Hippocampus, which is a water sort of like seahorse-esque creature. It's really cool because they have a different theme in all of its moons. It has a more Shakespearean vibe to it, such as Puck and Juliet, Portia, all of these really cool Shakespearean names like Ophelia, and some of them still also don't have names because these planets have a lot of moons. Mars shockingly only has 2 moons, Phobos and Deimos, Phobos being the personification of fear and panic, and Deimos being the personification of dread and terror. Saturn has so many moons, they have 146 moons, so I'm just going to touch on some of the ones that I really like, because they kind of stopped following the Greek and Roman theme a little bit through and started adopting more Norse names. My personal favorite being Fenrir, a Norse dog creature. I know Pluto's not a planet anymore, however, I really like his moons because one is Styx, like the river Styx in the underworld, and Nyx, the Titan of Darkness, and Hydra, the multi-headed monster. They're just really cool. Some examples of mythology from different cultures in pop culture and fandom spaces. We talk about Abrahamic mythologies, which means Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. One series you're going to hear me talk about a lot is Persona and the Shin Megami Tensei series. All of their summons usually have something to do with a real-world mythology. For example, Messiah, the god-appointed leader, Beelzebub, which is sometimes known as like another word for Satan, or the Prince of Demons. We have Baal, an antagonistic creature from the Old Testament. The show Good Omens, which is all about angels and devils, and even has the Garden of Eden with the snake in the back here. The entire series of Supernatural has so many different mythologies that they reference on single episodes, while the overarching story is more Abrahamic in nature. They even have almost a whole season dedicated to Cain and Abel and like the whole killing of your brother and everything. It's also really cool because this is the media where I found out Lilith was a thing, and in this course we found out Lilith was created by Judaism. Fantasy actually has a lot of mythologies around it. We'll get into more after the Abrahamic section, but Leviathan is a very reoccurring character in the Final Fantasy series. And then actually in this course we learned about Titus, the Roman emperor who conquered Jerusalem and destroyed the first temple. And the second we said the name, I was already excited because it reminded me of Titus from Final Fantasy X, who is an entire story about going to temples with a sorceress or summoner and trying to destroy the living embodiment of sin that comes once every couple hundred years to kill the entire population. Which it totally could be a coincidence that they chose that name, but I just thought it was a really... The whole Shadowhunter series by Cassandra Clare, which all of the characters who are Shadowhunters are Nephilim, which are sons of God and daughters of men, and are giant creatures in the Bible and Genesis, which is kind of random but cool. To Final Fantasy again, they actually have a summon named Exodus, which I thought was really cool, especially with how reoccurring he is in the general Final Fantasy series. And then we have the goddess Shiva, which is more of a Hindu-based creature or person or goddess, but is also a prevalent idea in Judaism. And then one of the strongest summons in the Final Fantasy series is actually Ifrit, a powerful high-ranking class of genie in Islamic and Arabian folklore, who also has to do with fire most of the time, and yes, he is a fire element. Uncharted series, which actually deals with a lot of different mythological locations and making them real, most being of more Eastern descent or things we just didn't talk about, but they have the Aram of the Pillars, which is a legendary lost city mentioned in the Quran, and is called the Atlantis of Sands. And it's just really cool that you get to walk around a mythological city. And here's Persona. They have Asmodeus as a summon, often regarded as the king of demons or one of the 7 princes of hell, embodying the sin of lust. Persona, they have Adam Kadmon, known as the primordial man, which is sometimes brought into Judaism but is mainly Islamic, and it is a smokeless fire form brought to life by Allah. We also have Iblis, which is the primary antagonist and the chief spirit of evil in Islam. And then also Azazel from Jewish tradition, which is a fallen angel. And then we have Metatron, who has a very Transformer-sounding name from Jewish mythology, known as one of the archangels. Golem, which is a Jewish folklore creature typically formed from mud or clay and brought to life through magical rituals with Hebrew letters. But you also probably know him from DC. Into more Arthurian legend and other things that just I didn't have a category for. We're going to go into the old Tomb Raider series because a lot has to do with Arthurian legend, and in 2006 they have a whole game about King Arthur and finding his relics. And then of course the whole theme of the Sword in the Stone being pulled out by the Chosen One, the hero chosen in the prophecy or the divine tellings or something, is a very common thing you see throughout Western media. And then there's an anime called Soul Eater, and Excalibur is one of the characters that is the living embodiment of a weapon. And in a series by the same person, he meets someone called Arthur who wields him as his weapon. And then going back to Final Fantasy, we have a common summon being Gilgamesh, aka just Gilgamesh. And the first time I ever heard the name Gilgamesh was in a random anime I watched called The Tower of Jiraga, where the main antagonist just happened to be King Gilgamesh himself. Once again, Persona has a main character named Morgana in Persona 5, from Arthurian legend, who is a very powerful enchantress. And there's an anime called the Fate series. They have a bunch of different universes where they go over many different mythologies, the main ones being the Holy Grail Wars, having to do with Arthurian legend and even Gilgamesh. And then just a really funny one, there's an entire Wii game of Sonic the Hedgehog that has to do with the Knights of the Round Table. Going to my favorite, Greek and Roman, and this one could be hours long if I really wanted to go into it. First we have the idea of Cupid. Just everywhere you see him, he is a Roman deity of desire, erotic love, attraction, and affection. He's not always this cute little cherub you see at Walmart in decorations. And then we have the God of War series. It originally was about the god Kratos going to kill everyone on the Olympian mountain. And then more recently, it got a more Norse twist on it, having to deal more with Freya and her son and all of that. And then we have the Passion Project of Epic the Musical, which is a musical retelling of the Odyssey. And then we have everything Rick Riordan writes, basically, from Percy Jackson, Heroes of Olympus, The Kane Chronicles, goes from Greek, Norse, Egyptian, Roman, and he's even outbranched other authors to do mythologies he doesn't know about as often, which is just nice, because that's how a lot of people get into mythology at a young age. And then, very importantly, Wonder Woman herself is a Amazon that I feel like a lot of people forget. I was very shocked to find not as much Egyptian as I thought was going to be in the public lexicon. Going back to Tomb Raider, there is a main boss fight with Apep, the ancient snake Egyptian deity representing chaos, darkness, and destruction. And then Persona kind of fell flat on this one because she's only in a couple of the games, but they have Isis, the goddess of motherhood. And there's a whole game where you fight a bunch of these different monsters, especially in big boss battles towards the end. And then Persona also coming in clutch with having all of these different gods and goddesses from Egyptian mythology, and especially Cleopatra over there too. And then of course the fever dream that was House of Anubis on Nickelodeon. I don't even remember if they used any Egyptian imagery or if they just used the name. Game Hades, which is about Zagreus, which is apparently a real mythological figure, trying to escape Tartarus to go find his mom Persephone on the surface. But a very cool detail is you get to upgrade all of his weapons, and they eventually become aspects of other gods and goddesses from different mythologies who also use a weapon like that. For example, the melee weapon, it becomes a aspect of Gilgamesh. And of course, the sword becomes an aspect of Arthur and becomes unstoppable once it's fully charged. And the shield that you can fight with is becoming of Beowulf, which is very cool because besides my high school mythology class and here, I never really hear people talk about Beowulf all that often, which is unfortunate.